Hey guys, it's Julian from Beneath the Bunk Studios and BeneathTheBunk.com. I hope you're doing wonderfully. Today, we are shooting out different guitar cab IR loader plugins. Let's get into it. Before we jump in, for those of you who don't know, I do have a video where I shoot out all of the different sounds of these cab IR loaders that I'm about to show you. This is just where I'm going to go more in detail on them. The last video, what I did was I shot out each cab IR loader using the same IR with the same settings with the same amp sim. Just to see if any of them sounded different. You can find that video at the link in the description if you'd want to watch that, and then watch this, or watch this and watch that. Doesn't really matter. That video pretty much just showed that they all sound very, very close to the same, and no matter which one you use, you're probably not going to hear very much of a difference. Moving on from that, as you can see here, we are in a Pro Tools session. This is a session for the song from my solo project called Poems of Sorts. The song is called Stare. It is the newest song from my solo project as of the recording of this video, and it sounds a little bit like this. Hear it at the link in the description if you'd like to.
Then I have the dream of mine, making your fingers through my hair. Then I wake up every stare, and I never thought that it would be like this. Making a change to the way you look, but stop.
And that's the chorus, and that's the section we're going to be dealing with for the most part for this video. So right now what I have running is the original guitar sound from the song, and that is the Worden NTS plugin through one of the, I believe it's just one of the stock impulse responses in that plugin that I used for the tone. However, right now I have the DI loaded right here, so we're going to I didn't make an active the original tone, and we're just going to use this new version to shoot out these amp sims. These impulse response loaders rather. So this is your DI tone. It sounds like this. Really, really exciting. Pretty sick, I know. So what we're going to do is we're going to turn on the Worden NTS, which has the cab section bypass. The cab sound will be coming from these different IR loaders here. So we have Pulse from Lancaster Audio, Studio Cab Zilla Edition from GGD, Ignite Libra from STL Tones, and Ignite Nat IR also from STL Tones. So like I said, last video we talked about the sounds of each and how they all pretty much sound the same. But at the same time, not all of these are free IR loaders. Pulse and Nat IR are free, while GGD Studio Cab Zilla Edition and Ignite Libra are not free. So in this video, we're delving into why that is the case. So first up, let's look at one of the free ones. We're going to look at Lancaster Audio's Pulse. So right off the bat, we have a pretty simple interface, nothing very complex here. You click external IR to load your IR, and then it navigates you to a folder that you can use to pick which IR that you want. You can designate whatever folder that you want to be wherever you store your cab IRs on your computer. You can also click this Pulse button, and you don't even need to use an IR. You could just use the stock one that's built into the plugin. We have a low pass filter here, high pass filter, delay, so if you want one IR to be out of sync with the other. Balance, so if you have two different IRs loaded here like I do, you can go here and balance the two and blend them. You hit this folder button to get navigated to your impulse response libraries folder that you designate on your computer. Here I have all my different brands of IRs that I have. And you could also flip the phase. You could turn it up louder. You could do dual mono so that you could have one track. Like I have two DIs here, but I only have one track, and each side of this DI is one separate performance. But what that allows me to do is only run one instance of Worden NTS and one instance of Pulse, which is great because then I don't need to have separate tracks for my left and my right guitar. I could just have one stereo track, and it's going to process each side separately, which is wonderful. That's why I have it on this dual mono setting. If I had it on mono or stereo, it would not be working like that, and that's something that not all IR loaders are capable of. So that's worth noting, and it's very convenient because it can minimize your track count while also minimizing your CPU load. But that's pretty much it with this. You don't really, how many crazy features can you really have in an IR loader at the end of the day? But it's straightforward. It works, and it sounds pretty much the same as all the others like we discovered in the other video. So let's move on to GGD Studio Cab's Zilla Edition. Right off the bat, the interface is much bigger, and we have some quite different looking controls here. So this is one that's really perfect for blending. Pulse, you could blend up to 2. This one you can blend up to 7 IRs, which is super cool, and it gives you much more blending flexibility. You have your mute, your solo if you want to just hear one IR at a time. This is your pan, I believe. Yes, it is your pan. You have a fader to control the volume of different IRs. You have a bunch of presets over here. You have close and far, which are interesting. I actually do want to play around with those. So let's hear what this sounds like through the stock cab IR in GGD without doing anything. This is what it sounds like. I'm going to go back and forth between the close dial all the way to close, and then I'm going to dial it all the way up to far so we could hear what the difference is. All right, that's close. Kind of lose a lot of the low end. It's a totally different tonality, but it doesn't necessarily sound like a room mic, which is kind of what I was expecting the first time I used this. But it doesn't sound like that at all. There's definitely a use for that, which is cool. It's not just like, it makes your distorted tone sound like it's in the next room. It does change the tonality quite a bit. But this interface is even more minimal than Pulse, which is interesting. But it's also worth noting that the price of $50 is also probably increased because of the selection of cabs that it comes with. A lot of people complain about them being too dark. I agree, but also use a high shelf and then you'll be fine. Or just boost the highs on your amp sim that you're using, and then you'll be fine. I think these sound great once you really start to understand how to tweak them to your own liking. Some of these presets are really cool. Some of them I have more luck with than others. You can also load your own IRs in here by clicking cab and then going to user. But then obviously you don't get to utilize the speaker or the mic controls because you're using your own IR. You have a good selection of mics to choose from. You have a good selection of speakers depending on which cab you have selected. And yeah, this one's cool, much more concise than the other one, but it allows for more blending options, and it comes with more IRs, I believe. If it doesn't come with more IRs than Pulse, I think it comes with better sounding IRs than Pulse does. I'm not really a fan of the stock ones that Pulse comes with. Moving on, let us talk about Ignite Libra, which is also $50. Here we have a semi-similar interface to Pulse, in that Pulse had, your high pass, your low pass, and your delay. Except this one obviously has way more space for loading way more IRs than Pulse does. So you can load up to 8 on GGD Studio Cab Zilla. I believe you could load up to 2, 4, 6, 7. So that's something to take into consideration if you really want to be able to experiment with blending and playing around with different sounds. Libra could be for you because I haven't found something that allows you to blend more IRs than this does. I can't say how many times I've ever wanted to blend 8 IRs at one time. In fact, I'm pretty sure I've never actually done that. But anyway, this is the STL Libra interface, and you have your level, your resonance, your high pass, and your low pass, and your delay for every single IR that you could load. You could also flip the phase of each IR. You could solo each IR to hear what it sounds like in context. You could click this, the button that corresponds to the IR to take it out of the signal chain. You could see in this part of the interface, the number of cabs is going down. So you could click those buttons to turn off some of your IRs if you decide that there are some that you don't want to use. You could also use this IR browser to find your own IRs and load them in. You don't have to use the stock ones that come with Libra. There are some really awesome IRs that come with this one from Jens Bogren. I think that's how you say his name, Jens Bogren. Those are definitely worth the additional price because they sound awesome. They're just a couple from his pack, which I definitely recommend you pick up. I haven't picked it up yet, but it's getting great reviews, and the ones that are included here are awesome. It's super easy to navigate between IRs, so let's dumb this down a little bit to 2 IRs because 8 is crazy. It's super easy to navigate between IRs. You hit the arrows, similar to the way you could do that in Pulse if you're navigating within the same folder. If you want to navigate outside the folder, you just click the name and then the folder pops up. By default, it loads the default folder location that STL establishes, but you could of course navigate to your own folder on your computer and find your own IRs. Something that I really like about this. I have no idea what this preset sounds like. Let me get one of the Bogren ones. Something that I really like about this interface is you can easily drag this blue dot around and between the amps, and it allows you to blend the volumes of each IR in a very nice way that I really enjoy, because it kind of compensates for the volume in that you see these 48.7%, 41.4%, 9.8%. You see those markers. When you drag away from one, the percentage of the one that you're dragging away from goes down, and the percentage of the one that you're dragging towards goes up, which allows for some nice volume compensation and some easy blending, very easy blending. You don't have to navigate between level knobs over here. You don't have to turn this one down, then turn this one up to test different things. You could easily just drag from one place to another, and it's going to turn one down while also turning the other up. Let me show you what I mean by that. I have no idea what this preset sounds like, so it might sound not good, it might sound good. Who knows? Let's find out. I like that there a lot. So you could hear how I was able to really easily audition some different sounds, and different places in the interface sounded drastically different from other places. So this opens a whole world of possibilities, and I could see why it's more expensive than, Pulse. But why is it more expensive than NAD-IR? Let's move on to NAD-IR, and let's open it up. So this one's very similar to Pulse. I think Pulse is actually just a more evolved version of NAD-IR in the interface. The interface looks a little bit more modern, but in this one, it's very similar. So you have your routing, which I'm going to put on dual mono like I did in Pulse. You have your balance, so if you want to balance blend different IRs, you could do that easily. You only get to load 2 IRs at one time, so one on each side. Flip the phase of one, solo one. You could high pass this side and not high pass the other. The one thing that I really, 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 really can't stand about NetIR, and it's why I'll probably never actually use it again, is because every time you load up this plugin, and there's probably a way in different DAWs to make this not a default setting, but it's not even worth it for me to do because I just can't stand that this is even a thing in the first place. There's automatically a low pass filter down at 6K on each side, which is ridiculous because somebody who's a beginner using this free IR loader, as a lot of beginners probably do because it's free, probably thinks that their stuff sounds way darker and way more garbage than it actually does because they don't realize that this low pass filter is on 6K literally always every time they first start up the plugin. So if you're using this because you have no other option, first of all, just get Pulse because it doesn't do this and it's also free. Or just turn up the low pass filter all the way every time you open up the plugin, so that you don't have to deal with thinking that your IRs are significantly darker than they really are. You have your resonance. Also, I don't know why this is up to 40% by default. That makes absolutely no sense to me. So turn that down to 0 too. And then you could delay each side if you want. And this one has a unique feature that Pulse does not have, and that is the room. So if you wanted to add a little bit of a room sound, could be cool as a nice special effect. If you're working with metal or distorted guitars like these are, you're probably never going to get any use out of that unless you're trying to get a nice effect, which can be cool, but in most contexts, it's not really necessary. You like to have that upfront cab sound. But this one's pretty minimal like Pulse is. Once you get past the low pass and the resonance default settings that are totally trash, you can start going back and forth between different IRs. You can hit this folder button and see your the default ones that STL loads in, but of course again you can navigate to the impulse response folder on your computer that you've hopefully designated with your fantastic organization skills, and you can play around with the gain of each. Nothing crazy, gets the job done. I could see why it's free. No crazy blending options like Zilla cabs and the Libra plugins have. So it's pretty much just bare bones with this nice room control like Pulse is. If that's all you want to do, you just need a straightforward, you want one cab IR, you don't really care about blending at all, or you only care about blending a little bit, so you don't need that much of a blending capability from your IR loader, then Pulse or not IR. I recommend Pulse again because of those stupid default settings, but those will easily get the job done. If you want to play around and get a little bit more experimental and blend large amounts of IRs at one time and see what kind of crazy tones you could come up with, then it might be worth the investment for the $50. And these plugins go on sale actually kind of often, so you won't even have to buy it at full price if you're just patient about it. Regardless, it doesn't really matter what you use. Everything is going to sound great, like is demonstrated in the video that I mentioned is in the description. Just get something and get to work. It doesn't matter. All right, guys, that's all I got for today. I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you did or if you didn't, let me know down below. If you got something out of it, let me know down below. If you have any questions, let me know down below. Don't be shy. There's a 100% chance I will answer you. Which one of these do you use? Do you use multiple? Why do you like one over the other? Why do you not like one over the other? I'd love to hear from you. Once again, feel free to not be shy and let me know in the comments all of your thoughts and questions, etc. I will talk to you next time.